Oh boy. Here we go. This is it. This is the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Ryan Thomas, reminding you to subscribe and like the show on YouTube and Facebook. That's the first message I always tell anyone that tunes into the show. Subscribe and like it on YouTube and Facebook. The Thomas Take Sports Podcast is available on all major podcasting platforms. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Facebook as well. I know a lot of people that tune into podcasts on Spotify. Spotify is such a big platform. Joe Rogan Experience is now on Spotify. Apple Podcasts is big too for all the iPhone users out there. I subscribe to a ton of podcasts on Apple Podcasts. And anytime you subscribe to a podcast, you get an update automatically when there is a new episode. So as soon as it gets posted from the streaming platforms to, Facebook and YouTube, then it goes to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. I like to be very proactive with that. I just uploaded the last episode of the show to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts for your listening pleasure. This is how you can tune in viewing the show. People that are tuning in viewing the show right now, that's how it's first broadcasted and then uploaded to audio. So tune in on audio for the folks that tune in on audio. Thank you so much for tuning in. And let's dive into the nitty gritty. Why not? The nitty gritty story of the day is that the Red Sox are bringing back Alex Cora. The Red Sox bring back Alex Cora, the good, the bad, and the ugly. One of my favorite movies, by the way, Western movie. Sharon Stone, Russell Crowe. Was that The Quick of the Dead? Yeah, I'm getting the good, the bad, the ugly. Clinty, what the hell am I talking about? See, this year has done more damage to my memory and mental psyche than any other in my lifetime. 28th year, what a epic crap show this year has been for everyone, to the point where I'm trying to think of simple things and I just can't seem to think of the right... I don't know. It is what it is. I botched it. It is what it is. But there is the good news, there is the bad news, and there is the ugly news. The ugly news is devastating. It's devastating news. And I'll dive into that at the end of the show. But the good news is the main reason why the Red Sox brought back Alex Cora. The good is the fact that the players love Alex Cora. The Boston Red Sox players love Alex Cora. He is a bilingual baseball analytics genius, and he is a guy that was able to come into the Boston Red Sox organization, a high-pressured media, unlike any other in sports outside of New York, of course. Boston and New York are the two most stifling media entities, I think, in sports. I don't think the Yankees media has changed in that regard. I guess you could say over the years. I don't think that the Boston media has changed in any regards over those years. They are two very tough sports markets. The fans demand that each franchise, that each club is a championship contender each and every season. And if they don't get that, the team knows about it. The club knows about it. The owners know about it. They hear about it. No two ball clubs have I guess you could say, the dialed-in fan base that the Yankees and the Red Sox do, and that is what makes baseball kind of set itself apart still from football and from hockey and all the other sports. That the Yankees and Red Sox are cultural entities. They are a part of our history, our country's history. So these Red Sox fans, what I was able to gather over the course of the last year or so, some wanted Alex Cora back. I didn't want the Red Sox to make this move, but I understand the good of it is that key contributors on this team wanted Alex Cora back. Key contributors, the players, love Alex Cora. Andrew Benintendi talked about it. Nathan Eovaldi talked about it as well, that they missed him this season. He was a true leader in that clubhouse for them, leading them to that 2018 World Series championship. But the bad news is that the obvious. They're bringing back a manager that has probably the biggest stain to his name in baseball right now. Cora was a key factor in the Astros sign-stealing scandal, and dare I say it, was investigated for doing the same things that he did in Houston in 2017. He was investigated for doing those things in 2016-17, investigated for doing those things in 2018 for the Red Sox World Series championship team. I hope that wasn't the case. The investigation of that was a little bit inconclusive, but it was very, very conclusive in regards to what he did in Houston with A.J. Hinch. And, to have Cora back in the game, coming off a sign-stealing scandal, to have A.J. Hinch back in the game as he was announced as the next manager of the Detroit Tigers, that is not good for baseball. Baseball has done more harm to itself than any other sport outside of boxing in the world today. No sport has done more harm to. I might actually change that. Baseball could possibly have done more harm to itself than boxing. I'd say baseball is still more popular than boxing, but boxing has done a lot of harm to itself as well. Baseball and boxing are the two sports. No two sports have done more harm to one another than baseball and boxing. But you say why, you say how, you say in what way. Well, this is a way. You have guys banned from baseball like Pete Rose. And I don't want to go into the whole Pete Rose thing, but you have guys banned from baseball like Pete Rose who are the hit king of the hit king of the sport. The objective of the sport mainly as an offensive player is to get a hit, obviously. And the guy that's the hit king, the guy that did that better than anyone, is banned from the sport. And yet Alex Cora and A.J. Hinch, coming off of a sign-stealing scandal that tainted the Fall Classic, not once but twice, those guys are allowed back in the game. That is the ugly of this whole situation. Every day since the World Series has ended between the LA Dodgers and the Tampa Bay Rays, baseball has received 2 punches to each eye, both black eyes on the sport. The first punch was A.J. Hinch being named the manager of the Detroit Tigers. The second punch was the Boston Red Sox announcing that Alex Cora is back as the manager of the team that he was suspended from. Granted, he was suspended. The Red Sox named Ron Renicky as the interim manager for the 2020 season for the Boston Red Sox. 2021, now Alex Cora is back. And Alex Cora is a great manager. That's the real sad thing about this whole situation, is that Alex Cora didn't need to cheat. A.J. Hinch didn't need to cheat. They already had good teams. And no one in baseball should want to cheat to the point where it taints the game. People that are within the sport of baseball should recognize how sacred a game and how sacred a sport this is to not only this country, but just in general. It is our nation's pastime. You're tainting that. You're wrecking that. You are ruining that for your benefit and destroying the future of the sport that needs as many fans now more than ever. I don't think baseball is dying. Someone said that to me. Baseball's dying. I disagree. I think there's a lot of talent in this game. I think baseball does a piss poor job at promoting the talent that this game has. Trout, Judge, Betts, Harper. I mean, there are a lot of major league talents in the major leagues that transcend the sport, that create new opportunities for new fans. Fernando Tatis is one of those guys. He will bring in thousands and thousands of new fans. Is the major leagues tapped into that enough? No. And then you have stories like this where the Detroit Tigers, they have a lot of young talent. They're a really bad team, though. They have talent in the farm system that's coming up. A.J. Hinch gets an opportunity to galvanize that talent? No. I know the Chicago White Sox get a lot of heat from the fact that they hired 76-year-old Tony La Russa as their next manager. Oh, La Russa's done. He's washed up. He's finished. Spare me. I'd rather have a guy like Tony La Russa managing a team than A.J. Hinch or Alex Cora. I love the Red Sox, but this is not a move that makes the Red Sox look too good. This is not a move that makes me think, oh, wow, the Red Sox were right for bringing Cora back. I don't think so. The only reason they did is because the players, they love him. They think he's great. And the Red Sox want to continue that relationship between their players and their manager. That makes sense. But the optics of it, the optics of this move are terrible. And I call it like I see it. I'm Ryan Thomas. It was the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Alex Cora back with the Boston Red Sox. Wanted to dive into that quickly here on the show. A lot to dive into over the next few days in regards to the mixed martial arts world and Buffalo Bills playing the Seattle Seahawks. Baseball, big storyline. Boston Red Sox bring back Alex Cora. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.